I met Grant Reeves when he was drowning in a conference room at Morgan Stanley. Surrounded by whiteboards covered in blockchain diagrams he clearly didn't understand. He'd been trying to explain decentralized ledger technology to a room full of skeptical bankers for 20 minutes, and the sweat was visible on his collar. I was there as a consultant from MIT's fraud detection lab, sitting in the back, watching him struggle. When his presentation crashed, I raised my hand and quietly fixed his syntax error in about 90 seconds. The bankers nodded. Grant looked at me like I'd performed surgery. After the meeting, he bought me coffee and asked me to explain everything again, slower this time. He had this way of looking at you while you talked, like every word you said was being cataloged and treasured. "You're brilliant," he said, stirring sugar into espresso he wouldn't drink. "I mean, genuinely, frighteningly brilliant. How do you make this stuff sound so simple?" I should have noticed he was taking notes. We dated for 8 months before he proposed at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden during cherry blossom season with a ring he'd saved for by working double shifts as a junior consultant. He cried when I said yes. His mother cried at our wedding. I cried when I got pregnant with twins and realized I was too exhausted to keep designing fraud detection systems for banks while carrying two humans. Grant said, "Take time, we'll be fine. Your brain will be there when you're ready." He was right about that. My brain was there. I just didn't know he was planning to rent it out. The Westchester house had 6 bedrooms and a kitchen island long enough for the twins to race cars across while I made breakfast. Grant's fintech company was growing. He'd wake at 5, kiss my forehead, and whisper, "Building something great for us, Viv." I believed him. I wore yoga pants and drove carpool and felt my MIT credentials gathering dust in some back corner of my mind. Sometimes I'd open my laptop and look at old algorithms I'd designed, the elegant code that could trace money through 100 shell companies in minutes, and I'd feel this ache. But then one of the twins would need help with homework, or Grant would text me a picture of himself at some conference with the caption, "Wish you were here," and I'd close the laptop. I confused supporting someone's growth with erasing my own. That's the truth I'm still learning to say out loud. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday in March. I was pulling laundry out of the dryer when I felt something hard in the pocket of Grant's gym shorts. A phone, not his phone. A second phone, slim and black, password protected. My hands were full of warm towels and my heart was suddenly loud in my ears. I stood there in the laundry room, holding this object that shouldn't exist, and my brain did what it was trained to do. It started running scenarios, a fair, obvious conclusion, but the phone was too deliberate, too separate, not the sloppy mistake of someone texting a lover on their regular device. I put it back exactly where I found it. I finished folding the laundry with shaking hands. That night at dinner, Grant talked about a new client in Singapore, and I watched his mouth form words and wondered how many of them were true. The second phone disappeared from his gym bag by the next morning, but I'd already seen it. You can't unsee a second phone. 3 days later, his brother Marcus came over for Sunday dinner. Marcus was a partner at some white shoe law firm in Manhattan, the kind of guy who wore ties to backyard barbecues. He was helping himself to more pot roast when he said, casual as weather, "Hey Viv, Grant mentioned you got that deed thing sorted out, right? With the refinance?" I looked up from cutting the twins' chicken. "What deed thing?" Marcus's face did something complicated. "The house. When we refinanced last year, your name came off temporarily for the paperwork, but Grant said it went back on." Grant was refilling his water glass with his back to us. His shoulders were very still. "Right," I said, smiling, "all sorted." That night, after Grant fell asleep, I checked the county records on my laptop in the bathroom. The house we lived in, the house I'd chosen because the backyard had room for a swing set, was in Grant Reeves's name only. My name had been removed 14 months ago during a refinance I didn't remember signing off on. I sat on the closed toilet lid, staring at the screen, and felt the floor drop out of my understanding of my own life. The au pair arrived on a Thursday. Grant announced it at breakfast like he was describing a grocery delivery. "Her name's Sienna. She starts Monday. She'll help with the twins and maybe some light housekeeping." "We didn't discuss hiring anyone," I said. "I'm discussing it now," Grant said, kissing the top of my head. "You're overwhelmed, baby. Let me help you." Sienna was 24, blonde, efficient, and within 2 days, I realized she was cataloging everything I did. She took photos of the twins' lunches I packed. She noted what time I went to the gym. Once I caught her filming me on her phone while I was helping with homework, and when I asked why, she said brightly, "Just sending cute moments to my sister." Her sister's name was Sabrina Chen. I found that out when I looked at Sienna's Instagram and saw photos of the two of them at brunch, tagged at restaurants I recognized because Grant had taken me to them. Sabrina was older, sharper, and in 3 photos she was wearing jewelry I thought I'd lost, including my anniversary earrings, the tiny sapphires Grant had given me for our 5th year. I zoomed in on those earrings until the pixels distorted. My hands were cold. The twins were watching cartoons 10 feet away, and I was looking at a stranger wearing my jewelry in my husband's favorite restaurant. That was when I stopped explaining things away. That was when I started hunting. I rebuilt my old MIT login credentials from memory at 2 in the morning, sitting at the kitchen table with chamomile tea I didn't drink. The university system let me in. My old professor accounts were still active, suspended but not deleted. I accessed the fraud detection framework I designed 6 years ago, the one that could map financial networks like a nervous system, and I started feeding it data. Grant's company, his personal accounts, the house refinance, his travel records. I built a web and waited to see what it caught. What it caught made me stand up from my chair slowly and walk to the window and stare at nothing until my vision cleared. Grant was using my credentials, my old MIT login, my digital signature, my biometric markers cloned from our smart home devices, every thumbprint I'd left on our security system. He was authorizing transfers I never made, accessing banking systems I no longer worked in, moving money through cryptocurrency channels that looked exactly like the fraud schemes I used to hunt. He wasn't just stealing. He was framing me as the architect. The algorithm showed me transaction after transaction, each one stamped with my credentials, each one dated to times when I was provably somewhere else. School pickup, pediatrician appointments, grocery shopping with time-stamped receipts. But my digital ghost was moving $47 million through offshore accounts while I was buying yogurt. I sat down again, very slowly. The kitchen was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Upstairs, Grant was sleeping in our bed. My brain was moving very fast and very clear, the way it used to move when I was solving impossible problems. And I realized he'd planned this for years, since before the twins were born. He'd married my credentials as much as he'd married me. My former colleague Jenny called me on a Wednesday while I was waiting at dance class pickup. Her voice was tight with panic. "Viv, what the hell did you do? Your login signature is all over a pension fund breach. The SEC is asking questions. $47 million, Viv. What did you do?" I was sitting in my car in a parking lot watching 6-year-olds in tutus, and the world was tilting sideways. "I didn't do anything. Your credentials authorized every transaction." "I know," I said. My voice was steady. "I know exactly how my credentials were used. Jenny, I need you to trust me. Can you send me everything you have on that breach?" She was quiet for a long time. "You're in trouble. Not the kind you think." The files she sent me that night filled in the last gaps. Grant had cloned my biometric data from our smart home's fingerprint scanner. Every time I unlocked our front door, I was giving him access to rebuild my digital identity. He'd been patient, methodical. He'd studied my old work like scripture and then weaponized it. The au pair left a burner phone under my pillow on a Saturday night. I found it when I went to bed, warm like it had been recently used, wrapped in a note written on the back of a grocery receipt. "I'm sorry, my sister is a monster. Use this. There are recordings. Get out before they destroy you." I sat in bed with the phone in my hands, Grant sleeping 18 inches away, and I put in earbuds and listened to my husband and his mistress plan my destruction in crystalline audio. Grant's voice. She literally built the tool that could catch us, and she's too busy making school lunches to notice. We'll pin everything on her genius reputation and disappear before anyone believes her. Sabrina's voice. "What about the kids?" Grant's voice. "Emergency custody. I've already briefed Marcus on the mental instability angle. Postpartum depression that never resolved. Erratic behavior, possibly criminal. Once the SEC comes for her, I'll have full custody and clean hands." Sabrina's voice. "And then we're in Zurich?" Grant's voice. "With 47 million reasons to forget this whole thing ever happened. I sat there in the dark, listening to the man I'd loved describe me like a problem to be solved, and something in me went very quiet and very cold. I didn't cry. I took notes. I timestamped every recording. I created a new folder on an encrypted drive and labeled it Evidence. Then I went back to sleep next to him because I wasn't ready yet. I needed more. The next 72 hours were the hardest of my life. Grant was particularly warm, particularly attentive. He brought me coffee in bed. He surprised me with a weekend away at a bed and breakfast in the Berkshires, just the two of us, the twin staying with his mother. We walked through autumn leaves and he held my hand and told me I was beautiful. We had sex in a room with exposed beams, and I felt like I was watching myself from very far away, performing the role of wife while my brain cataloged evidence. In the car on the drive home, he asked if I was okay. I said I was tired. He squeezed my knee and said, "You work so hard, Viv. I don't tell you enough how much I appreciate you." I looked out the window at trees blurring past and thought, in 4 days, the FBI would thank me. That night, I was sleeping next to the man trying to destroy me. The emergency custody filing hit on a Monday. Grant's lawyer served me papers claiming I was mentally unstable and possibly criminal, citing erratic behavior and concerning financial activities. Sabrina Chen had submitted an affidavit as a concerned witness who'd observed my deteriorating mental state during visits to the home. I read the filing in my kitchen while Sienna watched from the doorway. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know it would go this far." I looked at her. "Does your sister know you gave me the recordings?" She shook her head, terrified. "Keep it that way," I said, "and pack your things, today." That afternoon, I contacted a federal prosecutor I'd worked with years ago on a multi-state fraud case. Her name was Alicia Reyes, and she had a reputation for being absolutely merciless. I sent her an encrypted file containing everything: the cloned credentials, the transaction records, the offshore accounts my algorithm had traced through 17 shell companies, the recordings, the timeline proving I was physically elsewhere during every illegal transfer, and the evidence that Grant had systematically stolen my identity while I was raising his children. The file uploaded in 11 seconds. My marriage ended in 12. Alicia called me 6 hours later. "Vivian, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Do not confront your husband. Do not tell him you've contacted me. Act completely normal. Can you do that?" "I've been doing that for months," I said. There was a pause. "How long have you known?" "Long enough to build the case you're going to use to bury him." Another pause. Then, "Wow." Grant's 45th birthday party was planned for Saturday at the rooftop bar of the Four Seasons in Manhattan. 200 guests. Open bar, a cake shaped like a Bitcoin. I got my hair done. I wore the dress Grant had bought me for the occasion, navy silk with a neckline that made me look elegant and harmless. I smiled at the photographers he'd hired. Sabrina was there, of course, wearing a red dress and my missing earrings, working the room like she owned it. She cornered me near the coat check while Grant was giving a speech about disrupting financial systems and building the future. "Sweetie," she said, smiling with all her teeth, "the help entrance is around back." I looked at her, really looked at her. She thought she'd won. She thought I was defeated. "Those earrings look familiar," I said quietly. She touched them, preening. "Grant has excellent taste." "He does," I agreed. "That's why he married someone smart enough to destroy him." Her smile flickered. "What?" But Grant was approaching, grinning, and he pulled Sabrina close and kissed her on the mouth right there in front of me, in front of 200 guests, while adjusting his cufflinks like he was fixing his tie. His eyes met mine over her shoulder, and there was nothing in them. No guilt, no concern, just the cold calculation of someone who thought I was already beaten. I excused myself to the bathroom. I sent a single text message to Alicia Reyes. "Now." Then I walked downstairs, out of the Four Seasons, and got into a rental car I'd parked 3 blocks away. I sat there with the engine running and watched the hotel entrance on my phone's camera feed. The cake was still untouched on the rooftop. Grant was probably making another speech. The U.S. Marshals arrived at 9:47 p.m. in 3 unmarked vehicles. Federal agents and windbreakers moved through the lobby like a surgical team. I watched the whole thing on my phone, the feed from the hotel's security cameras that Alicia had given me access to as a courtesy. Guests were filming on their phones as Grant and Sabrina were let out in handcuffs. Grant's face purple with rage, Sabrina's makeup running. Grant was screaming, "She's the criminal! My wife is the criminal! Check her credentials!" An agent responded, voice calm. "We did, Mr. Reeves. That's why we're here." I sat in that rental car for a long time after they left, watching the hotel guests disperse, watching the party end. Then I whispered to myself, "Happy birthday, Grant." The trial took 14 months. Grant's defense team argued I'd orchestrated everything and framed him. My algorithm, entered into evidence, dismantled that argument transaction by transaction, timestamp by timestamp, proving I was physically present elsewhere during every crime. The recording Sienna had given me played in open court. Sabrina vomited when the prosecutor described the money laundering scheme and her role in it. Grant's own mother testified against him, weeping as she described how he'd manipulated the family. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Grant received 23 years for wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Sabrina got 12. The au pair's immunity deal held. Grant's assets were seized, including the offshore accounts my algorithm had traced through 17 shell companies and 3 continents. His Ivy League Alumni Association revoked his membership. The fintech company dissolved. Marcus, his lawyer brother, sent me a single text message 3 months after sentencing. "I should have asked more questions about that deed. I'm sorry." I didn't respond. If someone is using your brilliance to build their empire while calling you ordinary, they're not blind to your value. They're counting on you being blind to theirs. That's the part nobody tells you about deception at this level. It's not passion. It's not weakness. It's strategy. And the people who do it best are the ones who make you feel safe while they're dismantling you. I run a nonprofit now, teaching women in financially abusive situations how to protect themselves, how to check property records, how to secure their credentials, how to document everything quietly before they move. We meet in a community center in Brooklyn, 20 women at a time, and I teach them to build the kind of evidence file that holds up in court. Some of them cry when they realize their suspicions were right. Some of them are relieved to finally trust their instincts. The twins are 9 now. They know their father made very bad choices and has to think about them for a long time. They know he won't be at their school plays or soccer games. They ask questions sometimes, and I answer them honestly in age-appropriate language, because I won't be the parent who lies. They're good kids, smart kids. They have my brain, and I'm teaching them to protect it. I code late at night in my small Brooklyn apartment, the one with the good light and the secondhand furniture, and I feel my brain light up again the way it used to at MIT. I'm designing a new fraud detection framework, this one focused on intimate partner financial abuse, the kind of theft that happens inside marriages, signed on joint accounts, hidden in shared homes, the kind I almost didn't survive. My MIT class ring sits on my desk now, next to the award I received from the Department of Justice for helping recover $31 million in stolen funds. I wear the ring again. It doesn't make me look like I'm trying too hard. It makes me look like exactly who I am. According to the National Network to End Domestic Violence, 99% of domestic violence cases involve financial abuse. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reports that identity theft by family members accounts for nearly 30% of all identity theft cases, with victims often unaware for years because they trust the perpetrator completely. I was one of those statistics. I trusted completely. I ignored every instinct screaming that something was wrong because I wanted to believe in the life we'd built together. But here's what I learned. Your instincts are data. When something feels wrong, your brain is processing patterns you haven't consciously named yet. Trust that processing. Investigate quietly. Document everything. And if you discover the truth is worse than you imagined, know that you're strong enough to dismantle it piece by piece until there's nowhere left to hide. Grant sent me a letter from prison last month. I didn't open it. I put it in a drawer with all his other letters, unopened, because he doesn't get my attention anymore. He doesn't get my brilliance. He doesn't get to rewrite the story or ask for forgiveness or explain himself one more time. He got 23 years to think about what he did, and that's all he gets from me. I'm teaching a class tonight on digital security. 23 women signed up. One of them emailed ahead to say she found a second phone in her husband's car, and she's terrified she's imagining things. I wrote back, "You're not imagining anything. Bring the phone. We'll figure it out together. That's how this works now. We figure it out together. We trust the data. We build the case. And when we're ready, when the evidence is complete and the trap is perfect, we send the file and we whisper to ourselves, 'Happy birthday.' I'm building something great now. For us, for all of us who got called ordinary while someone else wore our brilliance like a costume. We're taking it back, one algorithm at a time, one case file at a time, one woman who finally trusts herself at a time. My apartment is small, but it's mine. The twins are asleep in the room we share. My laptop is open, the code is elegant, and I'm not supporting someone else's empire anymore. I'm building my own."